Hola, soy la profesora Clark, and this is part one of two videos that talk about Ser and Estar. So the first thing we're going to do today is we are going to review Ser and Estar, and this is important because we're going to also contrast Ser and Estar in the second video. Okay, Ser and Estar, review. Ser and estar are two verbs in Spanish that signify to be. We have ser, and its definition is to be, and estar, and its definition is to be. But they are contrasted, and they have a variety of uses and meanings. This PowerPoint has some previous notes on it because I think they're helpful. So let's dive right in. We use ser to describe origin. And we've seen this question before. ¿De dónde eres? And we answer with soy de Chicago. My question is stated in the second person, and my answer is stated in the first person using ser. Here we have ¿de dónde es ella? Ella es de los Estados Unidos. In this case, my verbs are in the third person, es ella, and ella es, and then I'm answering de dónde. Now, what I always tell you is that if there is a de in the question, there's going to be a de in the answer. A de in the question, there should be a de in the answer. This is most always true. The second use of ser is to describe possession. And again, we use it with de, but instead of saying de dónde, we're going to say de quién es la mochila. La mochila es de Elena. And you could see how the grammar mirrors what we saw in the previous slide. De quién es el libro? El libro es de nosotros. De quién es el libro? El libro es de ellos. You see that there is a de in my question and my de in the answer. We also use ser with de to describe the composition of something. ¿De qué es la chaqueta? La chaqueta es de algodón. Here is the de. Here is the de. ¿Qué is answered by algodón, which in this case means cotton. And la chaqueta is a subject. ¿De qué son las enchiladas? Las enchiladas son de pollo. Here's the de in the question. Here's the de in the answer. Las enchiladas son las enchiladas. And the que is answered by pollo, which is chicken. The fourth use of ser is probably the one that's the most important because it talks about identifying descriptions. These are descriptions we use to single out one person or another, to tell the difference between the two. So if I have a nationality, an age, a physical attribute, a personality, religion, and color, I'm going to be using ser to describe all of these things. ¿Cómo son mis amigos? Mis amigos son españoles. ¿Cómo es el presidente? El presidente es joven. ¿Cómo es Carlos? Carlos es alto y rubio. ¿Cómo es Nora? Nora es inteligente. ¿Cómo son tus primos? Mis primos son graciosos. ¿Cómo son las señoras? Las señoras son católicas. ¿Y cómo es el coche? El coche es azul. Our condition that doesn't result from change or our identifying description in a nutshell would be ¿Cómo eres? From our simple conversation. The fifth use is with professions. And this is one that's a little special because there are two questions we can use. One of the questions uses ser, ¿Cuál es tu profesión? Soy estudiante. And the other one, which is more colloquial and a little bit more popular is ¿qué haces? Both of these questions, ¿cuál es tu profesión and qué haces, can be answered with soy estudiante. ¿Qué hacen ellos? Ellos son hombres de negocios. ¿O cuál es su profesión? Ellos son hombres de negocios. ¿Cuál es su profesión? Ellos son hombres de negocios. The sixth use of ser is to express times, date, days of the week. So I have son las 6 de la tarde that answers ¿qué hora es? I have hoy es lunes, which answers ¿qué día es hoy? I have ¿cuál es la fecha? And the answer is hoy es el 6 de febrero. All of these use es, and they express times, dates, days of the week. The seventh use is to describe where an event regularly takes place. ¿Dónde es la conferencia? La conferencia es en el auditorio. And when I'm expressing this, I'm stating that the conference takes place in the auditorium. It's a habit, not necessarily currently. It doesn't mean it's an ongoing conference. It just means that whenever the conference does take place, it's in the auditorium. ¿Dónde es la clase de español? La clase de español es en el aula 2, which means that Spanish regularly takes place in room 2 when it is scheduled to occur, when that event is scheduled to occur. So a summary of said is what a mnemonic I like to use. So possession, profession, origin, composition, condition that is stable, events and times, days and dates, or pocket. I've also tried to expand this because sometimes a mnemonic doesn't always help. Sometimes remembering the questions can help. And so if you put all of these questions on a flashcards or in a simple conversation, you'd be able to remember the uses of said along with the mnemonic. So I have days and date. ¿Qué día es hoy? ¿Cuál es la fecha? I have possession. ¿De quién es? I have profession. ¿Qué haces or cuál es tu profesión? I have origin. ¿De dónde eres? Composition. ¿De qué es? Condition that is stable. ¿Cómo eres? Which is really just an identifying description. Events. ¿Dónde es? And time. ¿A qué hora es? ¿Qué hora es? Or ¿cuándo es? And so I've just expanded this mnemonic to call it the pocket. It's a little funny, but if it helps you remember, great. If not, just remember the questions. Each and every one of these questions is a familiar question for you. If you remember these questions, you'll remember how to use ser. Moving on to review the uses of estar. We use it to express current location of objects and person. ¿Dónde están ustedes? Estamos en la clase. ¿Dónde está el libro? El libro está al lado de la mesa. Of course, here's our preposition, en. And here's another prepositional phrase, al lado. ¿Dónde? Al lado de la mesa. ¿Dónde? En la clase. ¿Están ustedes? Estamos. ¿Está el libro? El libro está. Use number 2 is with the progressive, and I have an earlier PowerPoint on that and explanation. ¿Qué está haciendo el profesor? El profesor está hablando con la estudiante. And because we're using the progressive construction, it means it's happening now and it's currently progressing. Bien. And the hablar, it describes what. Hablo describes who, when, and what when we just conjugate it for now and usually. And in the progressing action, we have estoy hablando. The estoy describes who and when, and the hablando describes what. So I have simply infinitive, present tense indicative, and present progressive. And these are the three forms of the verb that we've learned thus far in Spanish 1110. And we also use estar to describe a resultant condition that's caused. So if I have como está el proyector está roto, that means something caused the projector to be broken. If I have como estás, yo estoy cansada, that means something caused me to be tired. The great thing about this use number 3 is that when I ask como está el proyector, I get my answer, el proyector está roto. I can follow up with the question, why? ¿Cómo estás? Estoy cansada. ¿Por qué? Porque trabajo mucho. So that follow-up por qué, or the follow-up of why, is always appropriate when using estar in your question. It's not so much appropriate when we're using ser. And here's a summary of estar. Current location of nouns, present or resultant condition. We describe it in general as the effect of the cause, and we also use it in progressive constructions. And this is a review of ser and estar, and on the second video, we'll talk about how we can contrast ser and estar.